Well, hi there. I'm Randy Cross, and you're watching the Randy Cross Podcast. I want to thank you for joining us. I just want to remind you real quick here, if you could subscribe on the YouTube channel, Randy Cross Podcast or our Cross Podcast. You can find it at Randy Cross Podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe. That way, you'll get notified every time there's a new edition. All right? I appreciate it. Hey, we got a pretty good show for you. As always, in these last 2 months or so, this is going to be interview only. And this week, joining me on the podcast is going to be Adam Zucker of CBS Sports. He's the host of SEC Today on CBS Sports. He's also the host of Inside College Football on CBS Sports Network. Good friend of mine and a guy that knows just about everything there is to know about college football and basketball, because he hosts all that stuff for CBS too. So without any further ado, let's get to my interview with Adam Zucker. All right, now as promised, joined by Adam Zucker. Like I said, CBS Sports, CBS Sports Network, SEC Today, Inside College Football. Then you got the whole basketball side. But I'm not here to talk basketball with Adam. I'm here to talk football with Adam. And speaking of football, you just got back from Max's, your son's youth football practice. How long has he been playing?
What time is it?
It was the first one?
This was his first ever exposure to the game of football as a player, and he had a big smile on his face and was going through all the stuff that they did and was all excited about it, and in one day caught more passes than I ever did, because they took one look at me, my calves, my height, my width, and said, you go over there and put your hand in the ground and try to be Randy Cross. So he was talking about running. It's funny the way a 12-year-old will describe his first day as a football player, though. You know, it's like they had us with the offensive linebackers, and we had a squat for 2 minutes, and then I ran like a receiver, but then I turned around, like, they don't know the out route, hook, 3-point stance, all the different stuff. But he had a ball doing it and talked about all the different things that they did. And actually, one of our neighbors, 4 doors down, son of a firefighter, guy's named Owen Deutsch. He's 6'7", 300. I think I've sent you some clips in the past, but he's getting some looks from like Rutgers, UConn, Yale, different schools, and it's exciting. But he was there doing some drills too. And so all these athletic kids who think they're hot stuff in 7th and 8th grade, looking over at this rising senior and seeing the real thing. So.
Well, that's always a great reminder for them, for the kids, as they go along, to be around people like that. Especially, ironically, it's usually the work ethic that impresses the kids more than anything else. Because, once you get into that level college-wise, and then into the pros later, you're going pretty hard. And I can easily say the hardest I worked in my 21 years of playing football were my 4 years of high school. Not even close. Not even a close second. Oh, yeah. Wasn't even close.
I would have figured college or early NFL.
Yeah. No, it's high school. You got to be in great shape. And high school coaches are great on fundamentals and everything else, but they can be a little psycho about conditioning. So you're in the best shape of your life if you're a football player that time of the year.
Yeah, that's what drove me away from the game. Those psycho aerobics. I didn't mind the weight room. It was having to get 5 miles done in 35 minutes that I just couldn't. I couldn't make it.
Hey, so
I was like the rhino in Jumanji.
Hey, you getting excited about college football coming back?
I am, man. I am. I mean, it always takes me. I like to have a beat with the tournament when that ends, and coach Max's baseball team, which unfortunately did not end the way I was hoping. But turning the page and looking forward to seeing what goes down. And it's crazy right now to me, Randy, because there's just so much with all the quarterbacks, I guess, that we spend so much time talking about heading into those draft shows and everything else. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's so many blue ribbon programs that have so much, restocking to do, and unproven guys at quarterback, wide receiver, running back as well. I mean, not the case for Georgia, but Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson are the three that I'm thinking about, where there's going to be new quarterbacks and new running backs, new receivers from stars being gone now. So
Yeah.
Georgia Clemson week one will tell us a lot, and then the SEC game in September. Florida is that other team. Okay, losing their great tight end as well, but quarterback, tight end, wide receiver. So the special Ks can be
Yeah,
interesting. September.
I actually saw Kyle Pitts the other night at a fundraiser at a Top Golf in
Oh,
Midtown in Atlanta, and Kyle Pitts does not look like a tight end.
never
That is
did.
that's a tall. Now he's not thin, but he's a big boy. He's a big football player for supposedly a tight end. You expect somebody with a little meat to him, but he's going to be a nightmare for linebackers and DBs in the NFL.
Oh yeah, no, he was, and that's the thing. It's like everyone raved about how he performed as a tight end, but it really felt like you were seeing a wide receiver who just lifted too many weights, or could put up too much weight. But yeah, Kyle Pitts was one of the elite guys, and he got some of that Heisman noise, and of course he had a lot of quarterbacks getting a lot of press at the same time. So, a lot of pressure now, though. And it's a good thing DJ Uiagalelei got some time when Trevor Lawrence couldn't go because of COVID. It's a good thing, Bryce Young had some chances. So, we're going to see what those guys can do. And JT Daniels luckily finally got out there for I don't want to say your dogs, obviously, but your
Georgia,
nearby
yeah.
team.
Well, it is funny down here, and you know how crazy SEC fans are, and specifically dog fans. You talk to them about that Clemson game, and their first comment is usually, "Well, that quarterback's inexperienced. He hasn't played much, and we're looking to probably let our defense get after him a little bit." I'm like, well, he started those games when Trevor Lawrence had COVID last year, right? And in case you're curious, I'd turn on that Notre Dame game because they didn't win that game, but it wasn't because he didn't play well.
No,
He had
that's
a
right.
great game in that game. So
Yeah.
it's this season too with the transfers. For the first time, not only no year you're giving up completely, but now you can do it within most of these conferences,
Oh yeah.
and guys are taking full advantage of that.
Yeah, like To'o, one of our favorite inside college football names, going from Tennessee to Alabama. Just when you think, they're a little less proven at the linebacker spot, and I guess Dylan Moses maybe didn't have the year or end up as the player that he was thought to be before his injury, at least. But for To'o to be coming in, and yeah, USC went crazy with the transfer portal. I mean, that's what's here to stay, right? The transfer portal, no delays within the conference. And then between what happened with the Supreme Court today and what's coming down the pipe with NIL, then we're looking at, it's going to be the Wild West. And I think we've seen it already in college basketball, but I think it's going to be that way in football now too. And, look, I'm happy for the kids, but I know also just how valuable it is to have that locker room thinking, hey, I'm in this locker room and these are my guys for at least these next 3 years, whatever it is. And I get it. Look, guys are going to have opportunities, and that's what our country's all about, right? And college athletes have been the only ones who haven't been able to make a buck doing what they're going to do while they're in college. So it'll be an interesting time, but we always look for the unintended consequences as well.
Yeah, and I've talked to a few coaches in the last month or so, and I think without exception, the one common word during the conversation about this whole NIL, this name, image, and likeness, has been in some context nightmare. Like this is going to be a nightmare. Oh, hey, the nightmare I see coming is, or something, because they really anticipate craziness.
They should.
Well, yeah, because we talked for years about compensation, and I guess to some degree Title IX was, it is and isn't an issue. It's sort of a baseline, I think, in a lot of ways, as far as what you can do, compensation, and if you do it for one, you've got to do it for everybody, that type of thing. But this is free market. This is, the best players, the stars are going to be the guys making the money. And, except for, I think the only school I could really think of might be UConn, where a women athlete, specifically the women basketball people, will probably make more money than any other athletes in the school. But other than that, it's going to be baseball and football and basketball.
And I think you're right. And it depends on how much around the community there is, where there are companies or boosters, bad word, sponsors, let's say sponsors who kick it up a notch for those athletes. I think if you have a guy like a James Bouknight, you have a star UConn men's player for basketball, then you might see something equal. But when you're talking about the women's team, there is such an identity around that team. They're been the Yankees of women's basketball for so long. I think there's a lot going on here. And look, remember when it was the states arguing that it wouldn't be fair if a college in Mississippi could give $6,000 for cost of attendance while a school in Georgia could only give $4,000? If that was an argument, now what are we going to be looking at? And if maybe we've heard about more of it on the basketball side for whatever reason, that's 12 guys. That's a handful of guys per year that you're recruiting. Football's a ton more. Then you're trying to keep your own. Then you're trying to get other people's kids now. And only the schools with the big staffs to do that are going to be able to handle it. Only the schools that can really get ahead of here's what we can do. There's going to be all these new avenues opening. And so which schools can bring in business, basically? I mean, I've thought forever that the schools should almost be like the marketing agents for the kids in a way. Right. And I remember when there was one story about the schools keeping up to 70% of what they are able to get, and that sounded a little crazy to me, because I usually think of it as 10% as the starting point. But yeah, social media is the big thing, though, because now these guys, men or women, can make this money, and it's been that way in the NAIA already, but They can make money from the products they sponsor. They can make it from their YouTube clicks, their subscribers. So
they can legally be influencers.
Yes, they can legally be influencers, as opposed to, we all have to be careful what we tweet, Randy.
Yes, we do.
But yes, we do. Some of us don't do it as well, but none of them work for CBS.
Hey, the other big news in the last couple of months is the whole playoff thing is starting to come back. And whatever image it actually rears its ugly head, the numbers looks to be 12, which, maybe the top ranked, depending on how you want to put it. I read something today that said, it's really going to be the top 6 major college teams, the top 6 Power 5 teams, and then the next 6 highest ranked teams in the country. Now, if you look at last year's final poll, and I will say, Adam, you're a voter in the AP poll, you look at the final poll, Indiana was number 12. And there was one group of 5 team in the top 12. And the chances of there being more than one, honestly, aren't that good. When you think about it, if you're going off of 12, it's just not going to, I don't think that's going to happen, because those other 5 conferences are each going to throw in a team or two, and suddenly you're out of spots.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those conferences now, if the goal is to go undefeated and maybe be that number 12 team, or if there's an automatic slot that they end up legislating into this whole deal, are those teams, are the Boise States, the BYUs, or Coastal Carolina, are they actually even going to play those marquee opponents anymore? Because if they drop the one and then another one of those types of schools goes undefeated, now they're kind of on the outs for having played the riskier game, which you could say about any schools. But I feel like when you know, when Ohio State and Oregon would play early on, or Ohio State, Oklahoma more recently, you know, the loser of that game, oh, there's still a, you know, if it's respectable, they still got a shot to make it. So I think that's a fact. I always thought they should have done 6. What concerns me about the 12 is the talk about trying to incorporate the bowls still. And if you want to call it the Randy Cross Bowl, fine, but I don't think it can be in the location like those first couple rounds. I think those should be at the higher seated schools stadium, because I think you're asking the fans to travel too much. And I don't think that the product, even for television, is going to be as good without that crowd noise. If they could do home games,
plus Adam,
I'm on board, but give me some home games.
If you go to 12 teams, they're playing 15 now. So you got a potential for 17 games for these kids.
What are we getting rid of?
So you better start playing. You better start paying these kids, because they're not only basically pros. You know what? What the hell? They are pros at that point. And, you know, you're just going to have, I don't think there's going to be any less complaining if it gets to 12 than there was at 4, because then they're going to want 16. And then, you know, because that's the crazy thing is you start talking about the total games, which to me is craziness.
And that's where I wonder, are you getting rid of some non-conference? Are you reducing the number of conference games? Maybe everyone else rejoins the SEC by doing the 8 instead of the 9 that we see now, or they get rid of something. Maybe the SEC stops playing the FCS schools somewhere along the way, but that's bad for the FCS schools because they're getting paid to come there. But I agree with all your points. And I would also say that the schools complaining, you know, or the fan bases that are complaining that it's always Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, or, you know, somebody else, at least now, if the goal is to reach the playoffs and the best schools are always there and the best schools are getting the best kids, the best recruits, soon the transfers, then now the best schools are able to funnel more money, or the boosters are able to funnel more money visibly, legally to these kids. If NIL goes through, at least there's that second tier that can reach the playoffs, can get some money in the kids' pockets, especially when that criticism comes down for playing even more games, like you said. Because, you're right. That's a lot, and everybody else is making money. It used to be where, well, I'm an amateur. I'm an amateur, and I do not need to be paid for this game. And my coach is also barely not an amateur, and my coach makes $40,000 a year. Well, that's long since gone. I think I'm going to guess that Coach Saban and the best of them make more than that in a day, but I haven't done my math. So.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yeah, and probably the best investment any school has ever made.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, well, speaking of Coach Saban, what'd you think of that extension?
Woo! Hey, he is immortal. I mean, he has. I've never looked at him once and said, "Oh, well, he's slowing down." Or
he's getting old.
Yeah, none of that. You know, I mean, we'll see how it goes this year with having to restock the shelves. But he's done that a million times. He's had to replace offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators and all that. Hey, look, man, clearly his heart is in it. I think the biggest thing, even just talking to friends here in New Jersey, like the biggest thing is, where's your heart when you're at any age, to have 100% behind something. And he clearly has his whole heart, his whole soul in Alabama football. So,
yeah, it sure does. I tell you what, my over-under, 7-year extension, at least 3 national championships. I put the number at 3. I think that's easy.
Can't argue that, man. Can't argue that. I mean, who are you going to say is going to take him away from him, right?
Yeah, Dabo, the guy that probably will replace him.
You still think so?
I don't know. It's I quit doubting Alabama as far as resources and wanting to be the best a long time ago. So if you lose a guy like Nick, that's.
I totally get that. I totally see that they would go after him the same way Texas went after Nick Saban, and if that's in Dabo's heart, having gone there and having had to even share a room, even having his mother with him there in Tuscaloosa, I get it. But in a way that's like, he's created his own mountain. You know, that Clemson is his mountain now. And
Oh yeah.
if I were him, I would have trouble leaving that behind to then replace, the GOAT.
Yeah. 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 It's
Maybe that's a
I
character flaw of mine.
Yeah, well, there's a I think personally there's a pretty good chance, but it's I look at stuff like that. I think it's all about money, and that move would be all about a little heart and a lot of cash, because
It all comes back to the cash.
yes, it does. Yes, it does. Hey, so what's up with you the next month or so before you start really winding up for August
Yeah.
and football?
Yeah. Good question. I feel like our daily lives really just not hit a wall, but hit the highway. Everything has been very cautious around here, and now it's
Yeah.
green light, go. Why aren't you living it up? Why aren't you doing everything you used to do? And a lot of people are, well, it takes a couple steps here to get up to level 10. But I did just go to a concert. Had a great Father's Day week. Got my disc golf game going again. And up ahead, we're going to be living near my wife's parents for the summer, for most of it. Being at the Jersey Shore as much as we can.
Good for you.
And we got little man's got football camp right now, but then he's going to actually do some surfing.
Wow, I like it.
And get it and keep with the baseball and whatnot, and just kick back, read my Phil Steele, try to work on my tan, hope some
Amen.
hair grows back, and
Hey, what's
to make some putts.
Yeah. What's the deal on this disc golf? You sent that article to our thread about $10 million. This Paul McBath.
Yep. McBasket, that's him. And those are the putts I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the putts you lean over. I'm talking about the ones you try to hit.
Right.
So look, he is he as great and elite as a disc golfer he is. He's also just an amazing expert businessman, social media guy, especially now that Brody Smith has kind of exchanged secrets with him, the way Paul McBeth has kind of helped Brody Smith come along as a disc golfer. But he had a deal going where now it's $1 million a year, but he had a deal going where he got, I think it was $5 or $6 for every disc sold with his label on it within the Discraft world that he signed with. He signed with Discraft. He left Innova for Discraft. It was like an earthquake. I'm surprised you didn't know about that. That was huge business in the disc golf world. Yeah, no, you didn't know about that.
Yeah, you're actually, in case you don't know it, you're currently speaking Swahili to me.
Anyway, he's done really well for himself. And that article that was done, I forget the original source on that, but it talked about his cars, how his first car was a borrowed, beat up pickup truck with all kinds of problems. And he worked his way up very slowly in the car world to where he recently bought a McLaren. And so he's made an amazing living throwing that plastic, man. And
I love it.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
Yeah. I throw a lot of plastic around, but nobody pays me to do that. They just say,
That's
thank you, sir.
Randy.
You may have
That's
your credit
recycling.
card back.
Oh, that plastic. That's plastic. Yeah. I thought you meant Thursdays in the big blue bin that you got to bring to the curb.
No. All right, man. Hey, Adam, thank you so much. Enjoy Max's football. Sounds like it's an exciting and fun time, and I'm happy to hear he's going to play a little or try a little his hand at surfing too. That's going to be fun. But thanks for joining me.
Yeah, man. Great to see you, Randy. And maybe I'll kidnap you and bring you to Birmingham in mid-July for media days.
Oh boy, that's always fun. The Nick Saban show.
Yeah,
all right, Adam.
That's right.
Thanks
Be well,
a lot.
man.
Appreciate it.
Be well.
All right, bye-bye.
You too.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Hopefully, like I always say, you're all just a little bit smarter, especially when it comes to college football, after talking to Adam. He's one of the good ones, isn't he? He's fantastic. Hey, I want to remind you, we're going to be back at it, but let's see where you found us. Was it randycross.com? Was it the Randy Cross Podcast on YouTube? Was it Twitter? Was it Instagram? Was it Facebook? There's a lot of places you can find that podcast. But ultimately, it all lives at randycross.com. Well, thank you for joining us. And we'll have Season 5, Episode 5 for you next time you join us. Right now, time to say a little happy trails.